My parents dropped $50,000 on my sister's wedding yet didn't invite me. My mother smirked. "You're single." That would have been embarrassing. The following day, my sister showed me a picture. "Best day ever. You'll never get one." I quietly set a photo down on the table. Her smile hardened. You know that feeling when you realize your entire life has been built on a lie, and the people you love most were complicit? What if the betrayal came not from a stranger, but from your own family, leaving you utterly heartbroken and invisible? I still remember the evening like it was yesterday. The Metropolitan Museum of Art bathed in the soft glow of twilight during the Met Gala weekend. My exhibition, a decade in the making, was finally open. Prominent figures from the art world were shaking my hand, their words of congratulations a balm to my soul. I'm Liz, a museum curator, and in that black silk gown, I felt accomplished. My colleague, Jennifer, even said, "Liz, this is a marvelous success. The highlight of the year." I smiled, savoring the moment. 3 years of planning, finally real. Then Jennifer asked, "By the way, when's your sister's wedding?" My heart sank. "Next month," I lied, quickly changing the subject. The truth? I didn't know. The truth was, my relationship with my sister, Becky, was complicated. Becky was the flashy one, the successful real estate agent, always needing to be the center of attention. I was the introvert, lost in art and deep conversations. Our parents, Martha and Harold, lived this comfortable, picture-perfect life in Connecticut. But behind those smiles and family photos, an invisible dynamic churned. From childhood, Becky was special. Her vivacity, her occasional vulnerability, it triggered their protective instincts. Me? I was the irresponsible one, the independent child. "Liz is smart, she'll be fine," my mom would always say, "but Becky needs our help." Those words never changed. Not when I was valedictorian. Not when my research got international recognition. Not when I became a curator. My success? Expected. Becky's smallest step forward? Extravagantly celebrated. My own romantic life was barely acknowledged. I dated, but never found the one. My parents pretended to worry about my single status, but they seemed resigned. Becky's romantic dramas, though? Those were always front and center, complete with comfort and financial assistance. Then, 7 months ago, came the engagement, Becky and Jason Foster, an investment banker. Sociable, charming, from a wonderful family. When I first met Jason at their engagement party, a weird sense of discomfort prickled me. His smile, his words, the way he looked at me, it felt calculated. He seems familiar somehow, I thought, but couldn't place it. If my sister is happy, that's all that matters, I told myself, pushing away the unease. I wish I hadn't. That tiny discomfort was the first crack, leading to a discovery that would shatter my life and family. As the gala ended, I checked my phone. Nothing. No congratulations from my parents, no message from Becky. Just silence. It wasn't unusual, but tonight, I thought, should have been different. I finished my champagne and braced myself for my everyday routine. A week later, a Thursday evening, I was finally relaxing on my sofa, wine in hand. I opened Instagram, just casually scrolling. And then my finger stopped. A photo. Posted by my friend, Sophia. The hashtag? Hashtag Collins Foster Wedding. A church, white flowers, a champagne tower. Becky and Jason, radiant. Becky in this pristine white designer gown. I checked the date, my heart pounding. Last Saturday. The very day I was at the museum gala. I frantically scrolled through more photos, lavish cake, dancing, my parents smiling, Martha in her designer dress, Harold in a new tuxedo. And then it hit me. Like a physical blow. My sister's wedding had taken place. And I hadn't been invited. This must be a mistake, I told myself. Asterisk, maybe I lost the invitation. Maybe they didn't have my new address, asterisk, but no. I'd lived in the same apartment for 3 years. They knew where I was. With trembling hands, I dialed my mom. No answer. My dad. Nothing. Becky. Straight to voicemail. I put down my phone and just stared at the photos. Everyone looked so happy. Not a single person seemed to notice I wasn't there. All weekend, I kept calling, kept texting. Silence. By Monday, I was a wreck. Work was impossible. By Wednesday, I made a decision. I was going to Connecticut. Thursday evening, I pulled up to their familiar white 3-story house. It looked the same from the outside. But the moment I stepped inside, I felt it. Something was profoundly different. Right there, in the entryway, a huge wedding photo. Becky and Jason, hand in hand, proud parents smiling in the corner. Without me, my mom, Martha, came out of the living room, surprise etched on her face. Liz. What brings you here? You should have called ahead. I took a deep breath, trying to keep my voice steady. It seems Becky's wedding took place. Why wasn't I informed? Mom faltered, then shrugged. Oh, that. Just a change of plans. We had to move it up suddenly because of Jason's schedule. We wanted to let you know, but weren't you busy as usual? That's a lie. My hands were shaking. You knew about my exhibition for months. But I wasn't even invited. Why? Then Dad, Harold, appeared. His face clouded. Elizabeth, what's all this commotion? Dad, why wasn't I invited to Becky's wedding? I looked from one parent to the other. A heavy silence filled the room. My parents exchanged a look, a silent conversation passing between them. Finally, Mom sighed. I'll be honest. As a single woman, it didn't concern you, did it? We didn't invite you because it would have been embarrassing. Embarrassing? The word felt like a knife. What would have been embarrassing? It was Becky's special day. Mom snapped, irritation clear in her voice. Jason's family and friends are all wonderful people, so successful. Everyone was expected to come as couples. Having you sitting there, alone, single, career-focused, it would have made everyone uncomfortable. I was speechless. My career? My independence? My very existence, an embarrassment? Look, there's no need to worry about it, Mom continued, waving her hand dismissively. It was the most important day of Becky's life. Everything had to be perfect. Are you saying I'm an imperfect element? My voice was barely a whisper. Don't worry about it, Dad interjected, his voice flat. A wedding is just a ceremony. You weren't invited, but what difference does it make? Your life hasn't changed. You still have your work and your life as always. I looked into my father's eyes. The eyes of the man who once hugged me tight, who took pride in my accomplishments. Now? Nothing but indifference. You're right, I said quietly. My life indeed hasn't changed. But what has become clear is how you view me, as family. I started walking towards the front door. Liz. Don't be so sensitive. Mom called after me. Becky has always needed special attention. You've always been strong and independent. I'm surprised you're upset over something so small. I stopped. I turned around. Something small? My voice was calm, but a storm raged inside me. Is being excluded from family, having my existence denied, something small? You're overreacting. Mom waved her hand again. Anyway, The wedding was wonderful. It cost over $50,000, but it was worth every penny. I opened the door, silently, and stepped out. The cool night air hit my burning cheeks. Before getting into my car, I glanced back. Warm light glowed from the windows of their house. The place where my family belonged. Where I was now, unmistakably, an outsider. Back in my apartment, I stared at those Instagram photos again. And then I cried. Uncontrollably. The family smiles, the lavish decorations, the gaping hole where I didn't exist. Amidst the swirling sadness and anger, a steel resolve formed within me. I am no longer a victim, I thought. The next morning, an unexpected knock at my door. When I opened it, there stood Becky. Designer bag over her shoulder, a smug smile on her face. "Surprise," she chirped. "I came to see you. May I come in?" She took off her shoes, stepping into my apartment without waiting for an invitation. Glossy pink blouse, designer jeans, a huge diamond glittering on her finger. I just widened the door, a maelstrom of emotions hidden behind a calm expression. "Would you like some coffee?" I asked, my voice flat. "Of course. But decaf with oat milk, if possible," she said, settling onto my sofa. "And no sugar, please. I'm on a post-honeymoon diet." In the kitchen, I took deep, steadying breaths. The humiliating conversation with my parents was still raw, but Becky's arrival sparked a new, fierce determination. Maybe, just maybe, I could finally understand the source of my discomfort. "It was a lovely party," I said, trying for casual, as I handed her the coffee. Becky beamed. "Yes, it was perfect. Mom and Dad made it so wonderful." She pulled a glossy wedding album from her handbag. "Look, a professional photographer took these. Aren't they wonderful?" I silently flipped through the pages. The solemn church ceremony, the lavish reception, my parents dancing, Becky and Jason's radiant faces. But my eyes kept going back to Jason's expression. Something about it still felt off. "It was the best day," Becky declared triumphantly. Then, with a malicious smile, she added, "Something you'll never have, big sister." The air in the room froze. I looked up from the photos, meeting her gaze. The shadow of the sister I'd played with as a child was gone. "I'm sorry," I said, quietly. "I should feel happy for you. But right now, I don't feel anything." Becky sighed. "Just as Mom said. You're jealous because I'm happily married and you're still single." "Jealous?" I gave a bitter smile. "I have no problem with your marriage itself. The problem is that I was excluded. As family." "The invitation issue?" Becky shrugged. "Mom told you, didn't she? It was just a change of plans." "That's a lie." My voice was cold. I saw the social media posts. The wedding must have been planned months in advance. Becky was momentarily stunned, but quickly regained her composure. "Well, if that's the case, then yes. To be honest, Jason and I decided not to invite you. It was a day when all attention should be on us. If you were there, wouldn't the atmosphere have changed?" I swallowed the sharp retort. Instead, I shifted tactics. "Tell me more about Jason. Is his family from New York?" "Yes, well," Becky answered vaguely. "He does important work at an investment bank. He travels occasionally." I looked at Jason's face in the photo again. A flash of insight. I had seen him before, at a museum event years ago. But his name then, it was different. "His work takes him away often?" I pressed. "Yes. He's away on business trips 2 or 3 days a week. But that's the secret to success," Becky said proudly. "Last week, he was in New Jersey. I filed that information away. I had a friend, Marcus, a private investigator. He'd helped me with authenticating artworks. Now, he'd be investigating something far more personal. Becky stood up. I've got to go now. Spa appointment. But I ordered copies of the album, and I'll give you one when they're ready. As a memento of our wonderful day. She left with that same smug smile. The moment the door closed, my expression changed. I picked up my smartphone and called Marcus. 3 days later, he called me. Your instinct was right, he said. My stomach lurched. This Jason Foster, he also uses the name Michael Harris. And he doesn't work at Goldman Sachs. He's an independent investment advisor, operating under multiple names. My blood ran cold. What else did you find out? He regularly visits a town called Montclair, New Jersey. I'm still investigating what's there. I thanked Marcus and asked him to keep digging. That weekend, I decided to go to Montclair myself. Montclair was a quiet, tree-lined suburban town. Following the address Marcus gave me, I parked in front of a small colonial-style house. A tricycle and a child's bicycle were propped against the porch. My heart hammered. I waited in the car, watching. Around 2 p.m., the door opened. A small boy and a young woman emerged. She was beautiful, her golden hair tied up. She held his hand and they walked towards a park. Instinctively, I followed. At the park, she directed the child to the playground equipment and sat on a bench. I approached slowly, sitting on the adjacent bench. What a lovely child, I smiled, my voice a little shaky. Thank you, she answered brightly. Aiden's turning 8 soon. We talked easily. Her name was Samantha. After some small talk, I took the plunge. Actually, I said slowly, I have something to ask you about your husband. About Michael Harris. Samantha's smile froze. Who are you? Her voice was suddenly filled with an exhaustion that broke my heart. My name is Elizabeth Collins, I said quietly. Last week, my sister married a man named Jason Foster. But I believe he might be the same person as your husband, Michael Harris. Samantha went pale. She silently pulled out her smartphone. This man? She turned the screen toward me. It was a photo of Jason. Yes. That's him. My voice trembled. Tears welled up in Samantha's eyes. We got married 10 years ago. He always said he had a lot of business trips. Her voice choked. We talked for a long time on that park bench. Samantha showed me their marriage certificate, Aiden's birth certificate, family photos. The evidence was undeniable. Jason had been living a double life. He always said he spent half the week at his New York office, Samantha said, tearfully. Sometimes he said he had overseas trips as well. We exchanged numbers, promising to share information. She gave me a copy of a family photo, Jason embracing her and Aiden in front of a birthday cake. This was taken just last month, she said. He didn't tell us about his marriage to Becky. He must have planned to continue his double life. Driving back to New York, my heart was a tangled mess of emotions, anger, profound sadness, and a fierce concern for my sister. I knew I had to tell Becky and my parents the truth. But how? When I got home, there was a message from Becky. I'll visit tomorrow. The wedding album is ready. I took a deep breath. Tomorrow, all the truth would come out. I placed the photos Samantha had given me on the table, bracing myself. The next afternoon, Becky knocked. Delivery, she called cheerfully, glamorous in sunglasses and a designer dress. I opened the door, inviting her in silently, my expression one of quiet determination. Coffee or wine? Wine is fine today. Becky said brightly. Married life is the best. Jason is truly the perfect husband. Last night, he prepared a special dinner for me. As I poured wine, I was hyper-aware of the envelope of photos on the table. Here's our wedding album, Becky said, pulling out a luxurious leather-bound book. Mom ordered it specially. I had a copy made for you too. I took the album, quietly turning the pages. Skillfully composed moments of a happy wedding. On the last page, a large photo of Jason kissing Becky. Can you tell me a bit more about your husband? I asked gently. Jason? Becky beamed. He graduated from Harvard Business School, so successful in finance. We're about to purchase a luxury condo in Manhattan once his bonus comes in. Does he travel often? Yes, he's really busy, but that's the mark of a successful man, isn't it? Becky said, brushing her hair. Sometimes I feel lonely, but that's marriage, right? I quietly reached for the envelope. Becky, there's something I want to show you. What? A present for me? Becky said, happily. I silently pulled a photo from the envelope and placed it on the table. It showed Jason embracing another woman and a small boy smiling in front of a birthday cake. Becky's expression changed instantly. Her smile froze. The color drained from her face. What is this? Her voice was hoarse. A photo taken last month, I answered quietly. In Montclair, New Jersey. It's photoshopped. Becky cried, her voice trembling. A fake, created by someone trying to frame Jason. No. My voice was calm, but firm. This is real. This woman is Samantha Harris. She's the wife of Michael Harris, whom she married 10 years ago. And this is Aiden, their son. Becky shook her head violently. Lies. You don't like my happiness. You're jealous. She pulled out her smartphone and dialed Jason's number. Jason, come here right away. I'm at Liz's apartment, she's saying ridiculous things. From the other end, Jason's confused voice was barely audible. Becky hung up. He'll be here soon. Then your lies will be exposed. I took out more documents. This is the marriage certificate of Samantha and Michael Harris. And this is Aiden Harris's birth certificate. The father's name is Michael Harris. Becky snatched the documents, flipping through them with trembling hands. These are forgeries, she cried. But doubt was already creeping into her voice. Your Jason is actually named Michael Harris, I continued quietly. And he's living a double life. He has a son with Samantha, and he hid that from you. 20 minutes later, the doorbell rang. When I opened it, Jason stood there. His usual confident expression was gone, replaced by a raw anxiety. What's going on? He demanded as he entered. The moment he saw the photos and documents on the table, his face went ashen. Michael Harris, I stared at him intently. Or Jason Foster. Which is your real name? Becky, this is a misunderstanding. Jason turned to his wife. I can explain. Explain? Becky's voice was shaking. What is this photo? Who are this woman and child? Jason wiped sweat from his forehead. He stammered, That's my sister and her child. The photo's a bit old, and lies. I pulled out my smartphone. I met with Samantha yesterday. I have messages and recordings from her. I played the recording. Samantha's voice echoed in the room. Michael and I were married in 2013. He said he worked in New York half the week. Aiden was born in 2015, and Michael is a wonderful father, at least when he's home. The color drained completely from Jason's face. Becky, he pleaded. Becky suddenly slapped him. With all her might. A double life for 10 years? You even have a child? Tears of pure rage streamed down her face. What was our marriage? A lie? I truly love you, Jason said desperately. There was a time when my business failed, and I was in debt. I was planning to end my relationship with Samantha, planning to end it. Becky's voice became shrill. You were celebrating a birthday with her and your son just last month. In the chaos, Becky called our parents. An hour later, the entire Collins family was gathered in my apartment. Mom and Dad's faces were a mix of confusion and anger. We spent over $50,000 on this wedding. Mom said, her voice trembling. And you were already married? Jason tried to make more excuses, but I presented the final piece of evidence. This is information gathered by an investigator, Marcus. Jason, you were also involved in real estate investment fraud as Michael Harris. The air froze. Dad hit the chair violently. You deceived my daughter and used our money. Jason suddenly changed tactics. His eyes narrowed. This is all Liz's fault, he sneered. She was jealous that her sister would have a happy marriage. No. Becky said quietly. Her voice was broken, but clear. Liz was trying to protect me. She turned to me, her eyes red-rimmed. I did terrible things to you. I didn't invite you to the wedding. I accused you of being jealous. But you moved heaven and earth to reveal the truth. Mom and Dad looked at me, their faces etched with guilt. We owe you an apology too, Liz, Mom said, her voice choked. We always took you for granted. You were always strong and independent, but that's no reason to exclude you. We had lost you as family, Dad continued, his voice softer than I'd ever heard it. And today, you showed us what true family bonds are. Becky looked at me, tears silently falling. You investigated for me, and found the truth, despite how terrible a sister I've been. I smiled. You're my sister. That's reason enough. That night, my family spent hours talking. About past wounds, misunderstandings, and hopes for the future. The cracks in our family were finally beginning to heal. In the worst of situations, we were finding our way back to each other. 6 months later. It was a spring Sunday, the backyard of my parents' Connecticut home bursting with flowers. I sat on the terrace, gazing at the garden Dad had so lovingly tended. Here's your tea. Mom appeared, a warm cup in her hand. Her old arrogance was gone, replaced by a quiet gentleness. Thank you, Mom. I smiled, taking the cup. She sat next to me. I've thought a lot about these 6 months, she said slowly. Especially how unfair I was to you, Liz. I took her hand. We all make mistakes. You've always met our expectations, Mom continued, her voice soft. And we took that for granted. Using your strength as a reason to ignore your feelings. The terrace door opened. Becky appeared, not in flashy clothes, but a simple blouse and jeans. A serene expression had returned to her face. We have an hour until counseling time, she smiled at me. After Jason's double life exploded, Becky had spiraled into deep sadness, but with therapy and support, she was slowly rebuilding. Her divorce was ongoing, with the final settlement still ahead. But she was reclaiming her life. I got an email from Samantha, Becky said quietly. Aiden performed very well in his school presentation. Surprisingly, Becky and Samantha had forged a gentle friendship, united by their shared trauma. They supported each other, 2 victims deceived by a fraudster. What happened with Michael's, trial? I asked. The verdict will be next month, Dad answered, coming out from the living room. For investment fraud and bigamy. He's likely to get a significant sentence. Jason had been arrested, his double life making headlines. The investigation revealed he'd defrauded multiple women. Is David coming? Becky asked, a playful glint in her eye. My cheeks flushed. Yes, he's picking me up at 7. David Morrison was the museum's new fundraising director. Over the past few months, we'd built something special. He was gentle, intellectual, and deeply respected my work and passions. He's really trying to make a good impression on us, Mom teased. The flowers he brought last week were wonderful. He's a good man. He is, I said quietly. But I'm not in a hurry. Your happiness is most important, Dad placed a hand on my shoulder. We won't impose expectations on you anymore. That evening, the whole family gathered around the dining table, David included. Gentle conversation flowed. I looked around, a deep satisfaction swelling within me. Through tragedy, my family had rediscovered true bonds. Let's make a toast. Dad raised his wine glass. To our family. And especially to Liz, because your courage and your love saved us. The gentle clink of glasses. I exchanged a glance with Becky, and we shared an understanding smile. For the first time, as sisters, we felt a true bond. Outside, the sun began to set, painting the horizon with the promise of a new day. A new beginning. What about you? Have you ever had to fight for your place in your own family, or uncover a shocking truth that changed everything? Tell me what you think in the comments. I really want to hear your stories.